Welcome to the Therapist After Dark podcast. Ever wonder what happens when the therapy session is over? Well, we're digging into the funny, heartwarming, and surprising stories therapists have after they leave the office. Join us, two mental health professionals, every week for a dose of laughter, a touch of drama, and maybe a few shocking revelations, because therapists are people too. Now, for those of you who don't have context, we are actually on a Zoom call instead of being in person together, because of travel schedules and, just personal things that we got going on. So we decided to meet via Zoom and record our episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So cheers to our next day, our next episode. So, yeah. Oh, it's actually just sparkling water. It's like mango sparkling water.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of a detox from all the fun we've been having.
Too much summer fun.
Oh my gosh, the summer is the best time. Well, it's funny because Angela and I were trying to figure out when we wanted to schedule this, like our recording time, and we're like, what if we did it like poolside, like at the little party, the little get together, yes, that we had yesterday. And I totally forgot all the equipment. So, and it just wasn't going to work out anyway. It would not have worked out.
Yeah, I think you more consciously forgot that than subconsciously.
I'm not going to say yes or no.
Right. It was way too hot for that anyways. Way too hot.
Yeah, I know. Could you imagine? So yeah, you're headed out to Portugal in like what, 2 days?
3.
3? Yeah, Wednesday. Do you leave in the morning or at night?
Well, I'm leaving Wednesday night, but I'm leaving for Portugal on Thursday.
My God.
I'm doing like a little 2-leg.
Oh, I see. Yeah. How long are you going to be gone for? Like, how long is it a total trip?
7 days, full 7 days.
Oh my gosh. Wild. Yeah. So jealous. Oh.
So exciting, right? I love traveling, especially in the summers, because I feel like in the summertime, I don't know about you, but I think it's a little slower with some clients. Everyone's kind of on vacation. So, but at the same time, since, both you and I are mostly like, we make money by working, right?
Right. We eat what we kill. Or kill. Right. Yeah, is that how it goes?
Right. We don't have, and just like most other therapists and coaches who do the private practice kind of stuff, like we don't have that vacation time.
Right.
So being super strategic and, okay, when's the best time to go? Also, when's the best time to spend a lot of money? Because at the same time, yes, there's less clients in the summer. There's also less money in the summer.
Yeah, so true. I know it's kind of interesting because I feel like in business, when you go to business for yourself, you really do have to pay attention for the cycles. Because they are like people, I find that like in the fall when people are going back to school, it actually slows down a lot it's during those transition periods that the business will slow. And if I'm not mindful of it, then it'll be a real kerfuffle for real. Cause again, we eat what we kill. But planning travel and just like all these things, it's like things like this that I think are so interesting being in this profession, especially being in private practice, that we have to consider on top of also being honing our craft and being good at what we do, So I wonder if anyone's ever felt the pressure of their therapist or coach during one of the famine periods, or how I feel like I hide it pretty well to the best of my ability if I am going through a famine period, where things are just a little slower. But it can be really stressful for us, during that time period. So it's smart that you were strategic with planning and figuring out, when to leave and when not to,
What's that? I'm thinking of another saying. I don't know. Isn't it know when to hold them or know when to fold them?
What does it mean?
Like in a card game, right? You can't, if you're playing poker or something, right? You can't you need to know when to fold them.
Gotcha.
This is what happens when we record on a Sunday
I
after
know, I
a
know.
long holiday weekend.
On a Sunday and just like trying to fit this in when we, like it was my fault. It was my fault, y'all. I had to, therapists, we are human too. I just needed a break. I couldn't record on Friday like I wanted to. So yeah. So here we are on a Sunday and my bad, Angela. I'm sorry. Recording via Zoom. So like just threw everything off.
But this is good. This is good because now we could do this in the future as well.
Right.
But it is like maybe it's not just because it's Sunday. Maybe it's because I have 3 days left and I don't have anything ready. So I have a lot of brain power and other being used in other places.
God bless you, girl. Like seriously, I know you have like so much to do before you leave.
Yeah. And
Do
I'm
you
usually packed like at least a week in advance, at least. So
a
I'm really
week?
because I'm a psycho.
Oh my gosh, you're just so organized. That's your human design. Schedules, like practicality, just like things like organization, all those things. That's
Mhm.
totally not in my human design chart at all. So, Angela and I found out something really interesting yesterday. We're both manifestors of human design. If you've ever done human design or know of the system, it's kind of rare. Like, manifestors about like 9% of the population. And it's just fascinating because we're big initiators, we're like big vision people, but the day-to-day minutia of things can sometimes be a little bit more challenging for our energy type. So yeah,
I feel
I'm like, oh man, and this is what makes being a business owner. It's like we want to have the power and the control of our business, but the day-to-day grunt work can sometimes just feel like really, really challenging. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like I'm in the wrong career then, because the day-to-day grunt work is
Well, you're actually in the right career if you hire people to work underneath you, which
yeah.
is obviously I'm preaching to the choir because I'm like in the process of doing that as well. So but yeah, there's just so many different things kind of to consider in this profession. And yeah, as far as like, because obviously today we're literally talking via Zoom versus being in person. And I know that you have been like you work in person and I work virtually and I used to work in person. You do virtual clients too, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So like do you feel the difference between being in person versus being virtual with the clients that you see in both capacities?
I want to say yes and no. Yes, in the sense I really feel like it depends on the client too.
Mm,
Um, if a client wants to do virtual, I feel like the virtual tends to actually go better because they're more comfortable with the
mm,
virtual. But like if a client starts, a lot of my clients will move to virtual because like it just doesn't align with our schedule. So like we'll move to virtual. But I don't have a lot of clients that start off initially virtual. I think I only have like two that have started off virtual and stayed virtual.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I
Okay.
have a few that I mean I see about like I probably like I don't know, I would say like 10 clients virtually now out of like my 30, but only two of them started virtual and been virtual all the way through. So those clients, that doesn't make a difference because there was never a shift.
Yeah.
But I do feel with the clients that shift to virtual, like it creates this a little bit of like, I don't know.
Disconnection a little bit of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, like, as for you as a provider, do you feel like the quality of how you are able to show up or the way that you're able to intuit what you are, like your client's needs or whatever, if it's as strong virtually as it is for you in person?
I think if I'm being totally honest, I think it's a little bit stronger for me in person just because
Mm,
that's what I'm doing majority of the time.
yeah.
Um, so I think that's the only reason why I'd be stronger.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think that when I first started doing virtual, like when I first moved over to this space, it was a little bit, I had to work really hard to learn the tells that were
Yeah.
easier for me to pick up in person than I
Mhm.
and now that it's been years, it's so much easier for me to kind of pick up on those little things or whatever. But if I didn't have that time to kind of practice, I guess, it would still feel like I would feel really disconnected. But I also find that like now, virtually, because people are in their own home settings, they're a little bit more relaxed, um,
Yeah.
as well. So, like, my clients will come no face when they're the type of person who will wear a lot of makeup out in public, like, and so, but they'll come to our sessions and they'll just like be completely natural, which is, really difficult for them, or they'll be in their pajamas or, like whatever. It just makes it a little bit more like they allow themselves to be seen just a little bit more.
Yeah. I like
Um,
that.
yeah.
That's how I market my virtual stuff like on my website.
Mm,
Like that's one of the pros like I talk about if you want to do virtual therapy.
yeah.
Um, but most people opt for in-person therapy.
I mean, like, I feel like most people think that that is that feels better for them too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I've had some people who would like look into working with me, but then when they realized it was only virtual, they're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's going to be a good fit," or they would try it out and it just didn't feel good.
Mhm.
So, I just think that like different strokes for different folks,
Right. No one to fold them, no one to hold them.
and just let them know and know.
I don't even know if that's not even the real sign. But
You
it
better
is
like figure it
interesting.
out.
I feel like this is a question. It's a question for clients as much as it's a question for providers.
Totally, totally.
Um, but if you were to have one preference, would it be virtual?
Yes, now for
Yeah,
sure. It's the whole reason why I stopped in person because I
yeah.
wanted to be mobile. The fact that I
Mhm.
can even do this podcast with you and we don't have to be in the same room together, even though it's funny, like I feel like even just getting started, it felt like a little different because we're used to being in person and like riffing
Right.
off of each other that way. But this makes it so that you could literally be in Portugal right now, or I could literally be in like Japan or something, and we could
Mhm.
still have the same conversation and still record our podcast. I love the versatility of
Yeah.
mobile work, a mobile service, a mobile support. And that was really important for me when I was manifesting and creating the way I wanted my career to look, um,
Mhm.
you know, and the way that it looks now.
And that's another benefit of being a coach.
True. I know.
Yeah.
And that was, yeah, exactly. Cause like obviously have the ability and the flexibility and freedom to work with people all over the country.
Right.
Had I stayed a therapist, I would have had to get licensed in every single state that I was treating people, which wouldn't be impossible. I could
Just
have,
expensive.
well, yeah, totally expensive and like a lot of red tape. Hopefully, I would assume that some of the CEUs would be transferable. I never actually looked into that. Do you have multiple states? Don't you? Don't you have Jersey and Rhode
I don't
Island?
have I have my base license in Jersey.
Oh,
I don't have my independent license.
okay.
Um, so if I ever wanted to do that, I didn't want to pay because that's like it's less money. I
Oh, I
didn't
see. Yeah, fair point. Fair
But
point.
yeah, there are some states that are weird. I know, like Florida, like you need different specific CEUs compared to like Rhode Island, stuff like
Totally.
that.
And each state requires certain like licensing classes or whatever. So
Yeah.
even transferring from California out to here, even though like, I think we've talked about this, there are a lot of MFTs in California, but there are not a lot of MFTs on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And to be an LPC out here, I would have to take more classes, even though my training is just as strong.
Hmm.
And it's just from a different vantage point. And it's, in other words, there was just too much fucking red tape, and I just didn't want to play the game.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that we know that I'm a manifester, this is the reason why. I just don't
Right.
like to follow rules. I like to create rules. I don't like to follow them. So fuck the man, fuck the system. I'm a coach now. But yeah, different strokes for different folks. No one to hold them, no one to fold them. Okay.
I think we found the title.
I think we did. Okay, I better write that down. Know when to fold them. Oh,
Different strokes for different folks.
oh my gosh.
That's so
Sweet.
true, though. And that's why the world needs a variety of coaches and therapists.
Totally. And like, I think when you really get down to brass tacks, we'll say, they're different professions. You
Right.
know, we may have some overlap. So obviously there's a lot of coaching in therapy. And as a coach, you may cross the lines a little bit, you know, if you're mindful enough to know not to cross it too much, but into
Mhm.
like some inner child healing work and stuff like that, you know, which is a lot of therapeutic sort of practices.
Right.
So like they're similar enough, but they're actually two very different professions. Like the
Mhm.
end results and the goals for each of them are actually quite different. And I feel like, to me, my clients who've had therapy are so much better suited for coaching than my
Mhm.
clients who go straight into coaching.
Got
You know, because I think that they just don't have that foundation. And they haven't really had a place to process, you know, what they like their story and just like what they've gone through. Now, for
Mhm.
me, obviously, because I have that training, it's just a little different, you know, but
Right.
not everybody has that training. And obviously, as a coach, like you could be a wingnut and be a coach. Like there's no red tape. I went
Right.
from complete, like all this red tape to like zero red tape. And it's kind of an
Mhm.
interesting experience, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk a little bit about our event from what was it, 2 weeks ago now?
Yes, yes, it was such a great event. So many cool different professionals, I guess, providers there.
Yeah.
We had like there was no person who did the same thing, which was
Yeah,
really
that's actually really true. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if there were a couple, like obviously we'll remind you what the event was. We decided to bring our podcast out into the real world, obviously where we live. We made a little bit of a local event. And so we called all therapists and coaches to come and, you know, just be in space together and to share, kind of like how we talk to you guys on the podcast about our real life experiences and, you know, just things that we go through, our kerfuffles and our cool bean moments. You know, I think we wanted to hear from other people in this profession. And what we discovered is that like everybody who showed up, even if they were coaches, they were coaches of different niches, or if they were the same therapists, there were therapists from different niches. We had a massage therapist there too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was really interesting, and it got us to think. We're like, well, maybe we should also start to invite like hairstylists in. I mean, I know that there's some people out there who absolutely told their hairstylist way too much information. And to think you're getting a therapy session and a beautiful blowout. So you should probably pay your hairstylist double the amount. Just saying, therapy and hairstyling. But yeah, so like I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating that there are other professions that we probably should invite to these conversations. You know.
Right. Yeah. No, it was a great way to get a lot of different people together with all the same, I think, at least with the same goal, which is to help people.
Yeah, to help people feel seen
Yeah.
is really what I think was like the main theme between all of us, the running line, the running thread. You know, because we
Mhm.
had a storyteller there
Mhm.
who basically compiles women's stories. And she also coaches on storytelling and the art of storytelling and you know, and leadership and things. We had a masseuse there who's looking into getting into some like Reiki healing and like kind of doing some body based practices and some work there. We had a psychologist who works predominantly with children, you know, and testing. And she's actually Angela's business partner. And one of our other crew members of our little inner circle here, you know, here in the island. And yeah, we had a dance coach there who also specializes in life coaching. And then oh, we had a nurse. I forgot. We totally had a nurse,
Mhm. A
which was also
psychiatric
really,
nurse.
yeah, psychiatric nurse. Yep.
Mhm.
And then another therapist who specialized in uh,
Highly sensitive people.
yes, highly
Yep.
sensitive people. Yeah. So adults though, not children, which we thought was really fascinating. So in other words, we're like, I'm giving you all this like gamut because there's so many people who are willing to support you, or there's so many people who are out there who are actually doing the work that is similar to you that you may not even know, you know.
Mhm.
And it was just so fascinating. What was your favorite part about our event that we held?
Um, I don't know. I think at one moment I kind of just like took a step back and I just saw how everyone was just connecting and the conversation was so natural. I
Yeah.
don't, it was, the best part was just the feeling that, I mean, that was for me. I know it's
Yeah.
so easy, but
No, I think that that's so special because honestly, like this was Angela's idea. Like she really was the one because obviously, I talk a lot about how I'm virtual. So I'm like, what's being in person? Like, what does that even mean? And
Mhm.
it was like, can we please get out in the community and like do some things? I'm like, okay, I guess. Um, and so she kind of spearheaded this event, and this is like what she like her vision, her baby. And so
Mhm.
it's very fascinating to hear. It's actually really cool to hear like the way that you felt about it coming together, like your manifestation coming to fruition and being in the middle of it. And I would agree, like I felt that way too. It
Yeah,
was just like really honoring. It was humbling. It was honoring, to be with so many other practitioners who also felt that they needed this community as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
very humbling. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Because like,
excited to do it again.
yeah, because we're thinking the 31st, right? It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday this time.
Yeah. And we don't have a location picked completely yet, but we will post it on our Instagram stories and we'll put it on our page. So
Right.
you know exactly when it's supposed to be. We really hope that if you weren't able to make our last one, that you'll come to this one. And we're very intentional. Like we have questions, we have like ways of getting us to the deeper parts of the conversation that we really want, to provide that safe space. Really.
Yeah, yeah, and that was actually kind of funny. Um, I think before we got to that place where we were just like a well-oiled machine, like everyone was just like on the same level or wavelength.
Yeah.
Um, there was definitely some apprehension, right? Because we had some pretty deep questions in there.
Yeah.
Um, but the more we dove into it, I think I think the more everyone just felt safer and more comfortable. And it was
Yeah.
really cool to see that unfold.
I know. Absolutely. It's interesting to see us in the same capacity with which we see our clients like opening up and being vulnerable, because I think that there's a stigma at this in this profession where we have to be very strong and we're like seen as like role models in some capacity, or like we're just supposed to be kind of uh, stoic in a sense. I don't know if that's really the word I'm looking for, but like we're not just supposed to like wear like just wear it all out there. We're supposed to be kind of a wall,
Like a
you
blank
know.
slate almost.
Yeah, a blank slate, a solid foundation for someone to grow from. So it's just like typically whenever you have to create that barrier in any capacity, because you are still a professional, even if you care deeply for your clients, you're still a professional.
Right.
And it can be hard to show your vulnerability, you know. Um, and like I, it's sometimes still really hard for me to talk about like things that go on in my profession. Like
Mhm.
truly our podcast is like one of the only places where I really, besides when I had like, uh group counseling or whatever, or when I
Mhm.
go to see my therapist or whatever, but like,
Right.
like typically I'm not really talking about what I'm doing day to day. People are like, how was work? I'm like, it was good. Everybody's good. And then
Right.
that's pretty much it. And I don't talk about it anymore, and that's a part of the training too. Like not supposed to be airing out
Right.
secrets or anything like that. And,
Mhm.
obviously there are consultations and things that we can do, with other professionals, but like for the most part, I'm not talking about my job,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So this is a great outlet, even just for us, for people to listen or to come join in the in-person
Yeah,
meetup.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, if you are curious about some of these conversations and you are a professional who works in the helping field, please definitely join us. Also, I would be curious to see what maybe questions you would have as a client, that we could possibly offer to the group. So, if you have any questions as a client that you want a group of therapists to answer, then share that with us as well. There's a way for you to leave us messages on our podcast. I think when you listen and you look in the descriptive notes, you can just click and it'll send us like an email. And we would love to share your questions with our group on the 31st of this month. And we'll come back with some of our findings. We'll just give you a little bit of insight in some capacity. So yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, that sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a date. Perfect. Well, I feel like that's all she wrote for today's episode.
No one to hold them. No one to hold them.
Yep, Angela just always keeping us grounded here in our. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye. See you later.
We hope that you enjoyed the peek behind the therapy room curtain. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the podcast. Until next time, remember, life's a journey, even for your therapist. Take care and see you next episode.